We Are Stockholm is a music festival for teenagers in the town centre, devised 16 years ago to keep kids out of trouble. But for the last 2 summers, some of the people it was designed to help have used it as an opportunity for something more sinister.
Something sinister taking place at a music festival in Stockholm. What do we reckon? Binge drinking? The passing round of the old ganja? Or perhaps bootlegging of ABBA CDs? I mean, how sinister can it possibly be, if we're honest? They're Swedish. I feel like I could personally go to war with the entire country and win. Come on, BBC, I'm sure this whole report is going to be nothing but overblown, hyperbolic nonsense. Sweden's a lovely place.
It looks a little different in the snow, but this is where the festival happened, and where teenage girls say they were groped, harassed, and even raped by young men. Allegedly, in the main, young Afghan asylum seekers.
Oh yeah, I'm a fucking idiot. They have a ton of Muslims there, from the worst parts of the world, and Sweden is now a shithole. Of course, my bad.
But it's taken 5 months and the events in Germany for the story to emerge, because although the police were aware of the crimes, they didn't make them public. And that's left this country that's always prided itself on its welcoming, open attitudes to refugees, grappling with some awkward questions.
What? So questions like, do Swedes have the right not to be raped, are awkward questions now, are they? This weakness makes me want to join ISIS.
It was a cover-up, wasn't it?
No, we didn't cover up, of course we didn't. But we didn't tell. And there are so many things we don't tell, because we have so much information, so much things going on. We have hundreds of cases every 24 hours, and in this case we didn't tell. And that was a mistake, a big mistake today. But of course it wasn't a cover-up.
So you'll be resigning then? Because this is what it comes down to, everybody. Let's say we believe him. Let's say we chow down on that bullshit we were just treated to. I won't, by the way. I don't accept it, because I know this is not the first time something like this has happened, and I know the opinion of other police officers, such as the Chief of Police for Central Stockholm, who had this to say on the same event. Sometimes we do not dare say how things really are because we believe it will play into the hands of the Sweden Democrats. So that guy disagrees with you. He thinks there is a cover-up. It seems that the only thing the Stockholm Police Service are worse at than preventing crime is maintaining a united narrative. But the very best you could say for any of these clowns is they are totally incompetent fucking fools who shouldn't even have jobs selling pencils from cups in the street. And yet they all still have their jobs. Sweden, it's time to contact France and see if the guillotine is up for loan.
So if teenage girls had reported sexual assaults by white Swedes at this event, would you have taken the same decision?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that we never, in the police, we never talk about if they're Swedes or if they come from any other parts. The media does, but we don't.
Wait, what? So you don't think it's important that you and members of the public have accurate profiles of the kinds of people committing crime, including details like age, gender, ethnicity, religious background, where they happen to live in the city of Stockholm, so everybody can make healthy risk assessments? You don't think that's warranted? I mean, how do you do your job? I'm surprised you catch anyone.
All right, boys, time to bag us a cattle rustler.
What in God's name are you doing?
Isn't this 742 Evergreen Terrace?
No, that's next door.
Close, but no donut, cops.
Wanker.
At the 170,000-strong festival in 2014, 17 teenagers said they'd been sexually attacked and one complained of rape.
Complained? Oh, Mum, I've been raped.
Being prosecuted.
These guys, they were like 5, 10, 15 sometimes. The only goal for them to go into this crowd is to sexually harass these.
Yeah, rape mafia.
Who set up the festival and still runs it for Stockholm City Council.
And in the beginning, it looks like they're having just fun and, you know, dancing in this huge crowd of people. And then what happens that they surround them and start to gather around them.
Like velociraptors.
That's when the attack comes, not from the front, but from the side. From the other two raptors, you didn't even know were there.
Then suddenly they start to sexually harass them, you know, touching breasts, the crouch and stuff like that.
They should all be destroyed. Ah.
Cut that. Just had to go too far with it.
For some, Swedish culture is under threat. For others, the ethnic background of the assailants is irrelevant. What's clear is that Swedes don't know which way to turn, having taken in more refugees per head of population than any other European country.
The culture is under threat. I love that. Just so we're clear, by culture, we don't mean the eradication of Swedish meatballs. We mean the eradication of human rights. We mean that the safety of the women of Sweden is now severely compromised. We mean that the politicians and police officers of the country are conspiring against their own population by putting political correctness above the well-being of their own people. And there are those who are pissed at that, and there are those that don't care. That's the actual debate. And the BBC, trying so desperately and disgracefully to be unbiased. The BBC, by the way, their allegiance is to the British taxpayer, not to the Swedish Parliament. There is absolutely no reason why they couldn't, if they wanted to, rightfully shame Sweden, and more specifically, the people within Sweden who are committing the crimes and allowing it to happen. But they won't. They won't do that. Why do you think? Could it be that they suffer to some degree from the same psychological ailment? Do the thought experiment. If American Christians were 5% of the population of certain Middle Eastern countries, let's say, and they were committing 77% of the rapes, would this report be so vanilla? You know the answer. I'm insulting you.
The man in charge of policing the festival said this week they'd worried about talking about the assailants' backgrounds for fear of playing into the hands of the Swedish Democrats. They're the anti-immigration party riding high in the polls right now.
It's just wrong. They shouldn't in any way let political views affect their work, what they report or not. Young men in group treating this as some kind of fun way to spend an evening or to go to a party and just pick out women and harass them in group, rape them in group. That's definitely nothing that has been existing here before.
So you do blame migrants more generally?
For these kind of assaults, I blame the culture they come from, and I blame the fact that they don't want to accept that in Sweden we have a completely different view of women.
Wait, go back. Why is this woman not Prime Minister of Sweden? What is the argument? Somebody please tell me. Why not put this person in charge of not only Sweden, but Europe, please? And just listen to the predictably mundane and regressive question the BBC journalist asks her.
So you do blame migrants more generally?
For these kind of assaults, I blame the culture they come from, and I blame the fact that they don't want to accept that in Sweden we have a completely different view of women.
Which is absolutely undeniable. And she's not blaming, she's acknowledging. She's acknowledging the people who did this. There's no prejudice involved. There's judice, right? There's rightfully judging people based on what has happened and what is continuing to happen. There's no scapegoating here. This is in fact reality we're talking about now.
Sweden's policy towards migrants has seen an about turn. This refugee centre used to offer advice to up to 1,000 refugees a day. Since the government closed the border this month, it's down to 20. Right-wing groups blame cultural differences for the New Year attacks in Cologne and the assaults at Stockholm's festivals. But here they reject that kind of stereotyping.
Oh yes, all the usual stuff's coming out now, isn't it? Right-wing, stereotyping. Let me tell you something about stereotyping. It's often a good thing. Many stereotypes are based on data and experience and allow human beings to negotiate their way through the world with a bit more security and confidence. For example, herbivores are stereotypically less aggressive than carnivores are. Fat people stereotypically find it more difficult to quickly escape danger than thin, fit, and healthy people do. And yes, men stereotypically find it a lot more difficult to get along with children than women do. This is generally the way things are, and it doesn't make you a speciesist, a fattist, or a sexist to point any of that out. And it's certainly not racist or right-wing to say that men born of a misogynistic culture based on a misogynistic religion are stereotypically going to treat women like shit. Wake up.
I might be naive, I don't know, but I still don't see it as anything to have to do with cultural differences or religions and so forth. It's individual acting upon themselves and misbehaving.
Well, no, it's both, isn't it, sweetheart? I mean, of course these men are individually deciding to form gangs and attack women, but the reason they're doing that is because culturally they have no respect for women. Just obvious.
And what should Sweden do about it?
Take him to justice, just as anyone else.
Tonight in Sweden, it's the police who are under flak. And in this unashamedly liberal nation, there's been some soul-searching about their approach. So if it isn't a cover-up, what might explain this not emerging for so long?
Well, I think we all carry a bit of self-censorship, that we are afraid of discussing this question because you can appear like a racist. And
if there is a difference between covering something up and self-censorship, i.e. deliberately and knowingly censoring yourself for fear of upsetting public opinion, I don't know what that is. If somebody does, please explain it to me in the comments below. I hope that guillotine is being sharpened. Metaphorically, of course.
This is a cultural thing for us. We don't go there. We don't go in that, what we say, dark places. And that's maybe a problem for Swedes.
At this stage, you must all realise that by dark places, he means reality. He's running like a man possessed from the truth. He's terrified of it. How contemptible can you possibly be? Well, I've got news for you. The people motivated to strip Sweden and the rest of Europe of its secularism, of its tolerance, and of its humanity do not care how frightened you are. In fact, they are exploiting it. They are feeding off of it. We are in this situation whether you like it or not. The situation of having to share the world with hundreds of millions of Islamists, jihadists, and just your average asshole, misogynist, anti-Semitic Muslim. You have two choices. Ignore that reality and be destroyed by it, or face up to the reality and stand a chance. I'm plumping for option 2, because a T-Rex really is a T-Rex, and it really will eat you.
No.